our guest with us, and Ifeoluwa Ogunrela will be joining us this morning to talk about the reading culture. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Good to
morning.
How
have
are
you
you
here.
doing? Thank you for joining us this morning.
I'm doing awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. So now I want to talk about this adage that really I find very annoying. When you want to hide something from a black person, you put it in a book. How do you find that adage?
Well, actually, I've been hearing that for a long time, and it's actually true.
Oh,
The reason is
really?
because the reading culture in Africa has receded. We see that so many Africans find it difficult to commit to reading.
All right.
They have been, you know, um, pushed to doing other things in the need for survival. So the need to survive and to keep their head above water has made them go into doing other things rather than having the patience to read and developing capacity for them. Africans have long forgotten that developing capacity is needed to increase income and net wealth. Here and there in Africa, people decide to say, you know what, can we do other things? Can we go into other shortcut means of making money and making life better for ourselves? So yes, the reading culture has receded, and Africans are most affected by that.
Okay. Okay. Would you say it is given the current technological advancement that is happening across the world, right? How people are now, addicted to their phones, so to speak. Is it peculiar to Africa, or is this the reason why the reading culture has reduced in Africa? Is that what makes reading is that what has reduced reading in Africa, or is it is it peculiar to African countries, or is it actually a global thing given the way we are with technology these days?
First of all, before we look at technology, we see that there's a major characteristic of the African economies, and that is low income level. And so, like I said earlier, Africans are looking here and there to boosting their income potential. And that's why the patience to sit down and read is not there. Now, we see that the reading culture globally has been replaced by what is called the viewing culture. Now, the advent of technology has come to make things better and easier. But this is the challenge. With technology, you have what is called access to technology. And we also have affordability of technological tools.
Yes.
There is no problem with those. But the main problem is the efficient use of these technology tools with us. Okay, so if you use the range of technological gadgets to boost your reading potential and increase your income expectancy level, beg your pardon, then that's fine. But we have a case where globally people would resort to gaming, watching movies, and doing other things, which is not all that bad, but they have replaced reading as well with it. So instead of reading using technological tools like your laptop, your mobile devices, and so on, people would rather resort to gaming and watching movies and all that, which most times counterproductive. But it wastes time, wastes resources.
Let's talk about how you can actually promote your own reading culture, because I mean, now, as you've said and highlighted, we have a lot of distractions. One major thing that I've picked from what you've said earlier is the fact that a lot of people are looking for other ways to survive and make money for themselves. So it has allowed the reading culture recede. Now, if I want to boost my reading culture, how can I do that? How adding the fact that I also have to eat and do other things and have my leisure time and all of that, how can I promote that? How can I be better or be a better reader?
Oh, great. Number one, you have to personally commit to reading. Okay. First of all, you need to plan and make up for a reading schedule in your budget. If you earn 5,000 naira monthly, for instance, you have to tell yourself how much out of this 5,000 naira must I commit into buying books or getting data so that I can read? That's one. Number two, in your daily schedule, just like you plan your breakfast, your lunch and dinner, you've got to also make room for planning to read in your daily schedule. 1 hour, within 1 or 2 hour break, how many pages of a particular book do I want to read? Now, let me give you a very great instance. I remember some years ago, I was to interview for a multinational firm.
All right.
And while I was waiting for the HR to call me in, now I could have just sat down and looked around or started texting my friend that, hey, I'm already here, I'm waiting for the HR. What I did was to pick up a magazine on the table and I started reading. When I was done with that, I looked around at their vision statement, mission statement, and the rest of it. Now, when I was called into the interview, I can tell you that many of the answers I was able to give to my interviewers came from the things that I read from the magazine that I picked up just a few minutes ago. All right. And then when they were done, they said, "Do you have any questions for us?" And I recall that I looked at their mission statement and I said, "There is a phrase from your mission statement that I do not understand. Can you walk me through this?" Now, that got them startled. That got them started like, never believe this could come from you. Now, later on after I got the job, I would now learn that out of 7 of us that interviewed for that job, I was only one that was picked up. So that's what reading does. That's what reading does for you. There must be a personal commitment to reading, and you schedule it in your daily activities as well as your budgeting.
So earlier you were speaking about building capacity, right? That you need to read. That the reason why Africans um, don't read, or the problem with the African reading culture is that they're not reading enough, and that's why they're not building capacity, right? So my question
Absolutely.
is on the genre of books. Is there a particular genre that people should be reading? Do you know, are there particular kinds of books people should be reading to build capacity, or is reading, generally, you should read in, all, as my fellow presenter has stated that she does, should read in all books, do you understand? Should that, so what is there a particular genre of books people should be reading to build capacity, essentially?
Oh, great. Thank you. I'll take that half and half. You see, there must be, first of all, there must be a commitment to reading. That's why we say it's a reading culture. Don't forget that the culture is a way of life,
Yes.
a way of identity, a way of understanding, a way of communication. That's a culture. So reading as a culture by itself should be encouraged by all. Now, talking about particular genre of books, you see, you cannot be. There's a word that says, um, they say it's jack of all trades, master of none. Okay, so if I am an economist, for instance, I should gravitate more towards books that should enlighten me about the economy and that should tell me about things that would develop my capacity as an economist while not neglecting other areas. Quick example, you wonder why sometimes you're with your friends, peradventure you're all engineers, and then you just meet up at a public place and then you begin to talk about sports. Now, you're not a professional sports person, but you can contribute to issues in sports because you have read about things. You can talk about gender equality. You can talk about politics because you have been able to ground yourself properly in those other areas because you have committed yourself to reading around other areas beside your core area. Okay, so it's important to concentrate on your areas because that's your primary area of contribution. That is where you earn. So if I'm an economist and I'm unable to contribute maximally to issues of economy and macroeconomic issues, global issues, then my propensity to earn will recede. However, I should not forget that there are other areas of life beyond economics that I'm also build myself because I must be able to contribute here and there when other things are fixed. And it also increases my mental alertness. I should know about COVID-19. I should know about the EU and Brexit issues. I should know what is happening in the sports arena. I should know about technology and the rest of it. I may not be a grandmaster in those areas, however. But when it comes to my area as an economist, I should be able to hold my foot to the ground and say, yes, this is the fact, that is the fact, and people should know that, yes, whatever he's saying, true. So it's important. I think it there should be a balance. Okay, but
Okay.
more emphasis on your area of study, because that is what ensures that your means of livelihood is sustained. That's it.
Okay, so is there a hard and fast rule into the types of books I should read? Now, what I'm saying is, should it be, because now, apart from hardcover books or paperback books, we now have audio books that is even easier for everyone to get on their phones, and there are a lot of apps that are free that you can get any sort of books on, or even now video books or e-books, any of these books. Is there any hard and fast rule or the type of books that you should be reading, seeing, or listening to?
Do you mean a type of book or the medium of reading?
Medium of reading them.
Awesome. Now, I'll be honest with you. What I'm going to tell you might sound a little bit traditional.
Okay.
Initially, we talked about technological distractions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. I pick up my laptop, I want to read a book, and then an email pops in. So I will be lured into looking at what is in that email.
True.
And then I see a notification on my Facebook. A friend is trying to say hi. My Instagram notification comes up again. So gradually I am distracted. But when you take a hard copy book, you know that what you are reading is what you are reading. There is hardly any form of distraction, except you choose willingly to be distracted.
True.
That's one. Then number two, there is this pro-psychological connection between when you read and the medium with which or from whence you read. Okay, so when I'm reading a book, it feels more like I'm doing something serious. So when I'm underlining the pages, when I'm jotting, when I'm circling points, I feel I feel like I'm doing something serious. But when I'm reading, I'm flipping through the pages on the internet or via my laptop or my phone. Okay, I feel like I'm just doing something that I would be distracted at any time. And then number two, health reasons.
Okay.
You see, the rays that come from your laptop or your phone has some health disadvantages to the eye. Okay, so over time, we notice if we notice that we have higher cases of eye challenges or health challenges to the eye as a result of digital connection. So when you read with your laptop, your phone, and all that. Okay, so the rays from these devices have some negative impact on the visual health. But when you read with your traditional books, your papers, your magazines, and all that, you're fine. That is my own bias anyway. So I feel that when you read using hard books, that something more serious, and then you are more committed to what you're doing, and you're less distracted. But when you use any of all these technological devices, propensity to be distracted, right?
Yeah.
And you may not do any work done at the end of the day. Although, although it might be easier to carry so many books around on your laptop or your phone. Okay, it might be that's the truth, but the truth is, how many of those eventually read?
Okay.
How many? That's the truth.
Interesting.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay, so I'll give you a sort of like a personal experience when it comes to reading culture, right? This question, what I want to ask you, is actually to do with developing reading culture in schools, right? So some of my friends and I, what we were doing this year is that we're going to public schools, right, government-owned schools, and we were developing reading book clubs. All right. So what we're doing is that we'll give them a book for a month. They read it. We come back. We analyze it with them. Blah blah blah. What we realized is that most schools don't have book clubs. Now, I'm talking our research, what we focus on public schools, government-owned schools. They don't have book clubs. So essentially, the children are not encouraged to read. So my question is, how can schools encourage young people to read? Because at the end of the day, they are the future, you know. So how do we encourage young children and youths? So how do we develop a reading culture in our children today in Nigeria?
Pick up first of all from what the example that you gave. All right. Now, the first question I'm going to ask you is, what reward system did you put in place for those kids? Was there an appropriate reward system that would further encourage them to read? So there comes my first point: appropriate reward system. You see, it's so funny that we have a reward system for other aspects of livelihood that has not much ad valorem impact on youth and national development. For instance, you see people do beauty pageants and they are rewarded with a brand new SUV or millions of naira in cash. And then you have pro-educational programs, and the reward system is so poor.
Yeah.
10,000 naira in cash, 5,000 naira in cash, at best 100,000 naira in cash. So when the reward system is poor, you will not get people encouraged to read. That is one. Number two, you talked about book clubs and all that. I remember back in my primary secondary school period, we had clubs. But the problem is, do we have enough teachers, well qualified mentors to spearhead these movements? We have ill-motivated staff, we have ill-motivated teachers, and teachers that are not even appropriately qualified to teach kids. Are they readers by themselves? So there comes my second point: the quality of mentorship and teaching. Okay, that's number two. Number three, we need some sort of public-private partnership. We can't do this alone. We need the help of government. Like you said, readers are leaders. A UNESCO 2018 report says that over 250 million children globally cannot read. They lack basic literacy skills. Now, in that same 2018 UNESCO report, 4 in 10 schools in the public sector cannot read. Now, 8 out of the same 10 children, okay, cannot read for comprehension. That's bad. Now, you cannot marshal a global or even national revolution from the private end alone. You need the government. And it's so sad. In 2020 budgetary allocation to education, for instance, we have just about 6.9% of the entire budget allotted for education, which is 652 billion naira out of over 10 trillion naira in budget allocation. That is sad. In 2018, over 651 billion was set aside for education. In 2019, it went down to 620 billion naira. Now in 2020, they have 651 billion allocated for education. Still growing or coming down. So we need government effort to partner with private enterprises to try to push the cost of education, which will further boost literary capacity generally and then detail international development. So how do we build the culture in Nigeria? Like I said, number one, we need appropriate reward system. Number two, we need proper teaching and mentoring. Number three, we need public-private partners. We need public sector seriousness, drive literary, development.
Ifeoluwa, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We were able to learn a lot, and you've been able to break down the reading culture amongst young people with us this morning. Have yourself a fantastic day.
Thank you very much, and have a great day as well.
Oh.